Okay, what up ladies and gents, it is your favorite Asian robot, hopefully your favorite DarkTide partner, and right now, I am here to talk about the patch, the 10 gig patch that just dropped for DarkTide. I wasn't expecting it today, but boom shakalaka, here it is. If you guys want to read the patch notes yourself, which I highly suggest you do, link is in the description of the video because I will not be able to cover everything. Alright, otherwise this video is going to be obscenely long and pointless. So I'm going to focus on the most important stuff that is dropping today. Here is what's happening. Alright, patch 4, Blessings of the Omnissiah. Alright, there's a lot that's coming. Number 1, war gear sets. You can now save war gear sets. Alright, this is going to create some very interesting and unique combinations. I hope to see a lot of these in action, and I think it'll be quite fun to play around with all of them. So that is happening ASAP. All right, so get started on your war gear customization. I know I'm going to be doing that tonight. Armory exchange. The armory exchange now has the option available called Brunt's Armory. This will allow you to acquire a specific weapon by its model. All right, both melee and ranged weapons are available once you've unlocked them by reaching the appropriate level. All right, Brunt's Armory will stock only profane quality weapons, the gray quality weapons, so you have to upgrade them all the way. All right, and each weapon starts at a base price and scales with the player's levels, just like the prices for other weapons in store. What I'm gonna do, however, is I'm gonna test straight up what kind of stats we get, or is that randomized? So that's gonna be another thing I'm gonna take a look at. All right, so that is happening. Sire Melk's Requisitorium. They're making a few changes to Sire Melk's weekly contracts. All of the contracts have undergone a rebalance by lowering their required targets to complete, while also increasing the amount of Ordo ingots that they provide. The side missions task for both scriptures and grimoires have been collapsed into the same task, which will progress as you collect either item upon a successful mission completion. They've also removed contracts that require playing specific side objectives on specific missions. Additionally, they are also removing the cap that was in place on the amount of times you can re-roll a given task. The system will continue to re-roll tasks until you've re-rolled all available tasks, which you will then begin again to choose from previously rolled out tasks. The cost of dockets required will continue to increase on each re-roll. Okay? There are new contracts for collecting diamantine and collecting plasteel. All right, so I will obviously be rolling for the maximum amount of these because hell yeah. Killing monstrosities should be maxed out. Completing missions. The highest profit ones are collect scriptures or grimoires for 700, collect diamantine for 700, kill monstrosities for 700. So that's 3 of them. You'll also want the plasteel for 600 and complete 12 missions for 590. Or you can complete 6 missions with no player's death for 580, but I think 590 would be better. So based on this simple chart, which contracts are the best? Yeah, these are the best. I'll probably make a little like TikTok or short about this because these seem to be the most worthwhile rewards. Okay, Shrine of the Omnissiah. Prices of actions within the shrine have been adjusted. The cost of shrine actions will now adjust based on the rating of the item being modified. So this makes it much more viable for modification at lower levels over the course of progression within the game. They've also resolved an issue where an item's rating would appear to be lower in the preview. This was a visual bug only and did not actually lower the rating level. So consecrating at the shrine has had cost adjustments. Diamantine is no longer required to upgrade up to blue, so it'll only be required for purple and gold. Together with purchasing marks directly from Brunt's Armory, this will make it easier to upgrade and earn blessings as desired, while also earning lots of Emperor's Gifts, which will be covered later in the patch notes. Okay, they're basically expanding the functionality of crafting within DarkTide with the final steps, which are connected with the weapon blessings. So this is the final stages. Now, do give us feedback. Do leave comments after you've had a chance to experience it yourself, and tell me what you think. You know, let's talk about it. I think this is important. Okay, here's what you need to know. Earning blessings. Basically, you can extract 1 blessing from a weapon in your inventory. All right, I will do some testing on this on stream, and then of course after that there'll be a little blessing guide that I'll put out probably later in the evening as well. All right, After you extract a blessing, you'll earn the permanent ability to use the blessing on another weapon of the same mark. Earned blessings are shared between all characters on your account. After that, after you've earned a blessing, you can re-bless any weapon by swapping out an existing blessing on a weapon with one of your earned blessings. Each weapon pattern has unique blessings available to them, and you can only swap these with blessings belonging to the same pattern. All right. When re-blessing, you must choose an existing blessing to replace on the weapon. If your weapon has another blessing, it will be locked in place, which means that, for example, Infernus blessing on the Recon last gun cannot be swapped with the Infernus blessing on the normal Cantrails. The reason for this is because the Infernus blessing is very different on both, apparently. So that's how it works now. Mission board. Okay, I mentioned this in the previous video. The mission board will see an increase in the number of missions available. They're going from 12 to 16. The balance of difficulty maps and conditions / side missions has also been adjusted to account for the increase in availability. Timers for regular missions on the board have decreased to a maximum of 15 minutes. So basically, once you've come back from a mission, there should be a whole fresh selection available. Rewards for side missions and conditions are no longer the same values, and they've now been individualized. This means that both side missions and conditions will award different amounts of XP and dockets, which will also increase the total amount awarded with a higher difficulty being chosen. All right, there we go. If you want to view all the increases, you can check them out here. All right, I'm not going to go through them individually. But this one is very important. The availability of crafting materials found within missions has been increased. Once again, this is something that I covered in the previous video, but do look forward to this because the amounts are really awesome. Like I mentioned before, Uprising even Uprising has had an increase. Malice has had an increase. Heresy, very nice increase. And Damnation has the largest amount of increase in plasteel, going up from 395 all the way to 805. In terms of Diamantine, it's also been increased across the board, but you know, we shouldn't need as much as before. Okay, key thing right here. The Emperor's Gift will be awarded upon every successful mission completion. We've talked about this before in previous videos, talking about upcoming changes, things like that. Playing at a higher difficulty would increase the chances of higher rarity item being gifted. What I'm going to test very thoroughly is what kind of items Heresy is giving, because I feel that the vast majority of the player base will now be gravitating toward Heresy. Damnation is going to see an increase in the number of players. I really hope that we can get some random Damnation games, but I'm going to focus on Heresy, and if we see that good enough rarity is being delivered in Heresy, then that's probably going to be the concentrated center of player activity. All right. Item generation. They've made significant upgrades to how they generate items and how they're distributed in the game across different sources. Items consecrated, upgraded in rarity in the Shrine of the Omnissiah will now have more favorable chances of unlocking higher tier blessings and perks. All right. So if you upgrade it in rarity, you are more likely to have higher tier perks and blessings unlocked. The Armory Exchange requisition list will often see items with tier 1 and 2 perks and blessings, while Sire Melk's requisitions will have tier 3 and 4 perks and blessings for characters at level 30. And of course, if you upgrade it yourself, you are likely to have higher tier perks and blessings. Okay? In terms of character creations, a number of visual updates have been applied to character creation screens. Still nothing about changing height though, so I guess it's just a UI update there. Now, emotes. By pressing the jump button in the Morningstar, holding the jump button, sorry, you can now select an emote from an emote wheel. All right, I'll be immediately emoting as soon as we get into the Morningstar later. Okay, there's some quality of life upgrades, HUD upgrades. Cash shop update. This is just a UI thing. I'm not going to cover that. You could read it for yourself if you want to. The hunting grounds condition, they've changed that, and they want to test a couple of changes. As a baseline, they want these modifiers to be more distinct and less of a continuous challenge throughout the mission. So they're changing the format. A handful of spawns of rebalanced and tuned dog packs will occur during a hunting grounds mission, with some tender, loving care put into the pacing and general presentation. The poxhounds themselves have gotten some attention, with a focus on fixing issues of their movements, smoothing out ragdoll transition, and sternly telling them not to try space travel. It's a work in progress. They want to test this in limited capacity in the coming rotations of the mission board. Hopefully it'll give a clear sense of when the condition kicks in and provide for a fun experience to overcome or die horribly. All right, so please check it out and give them feedback. They want to find a format that works together with the community so that they can add variation and replayability to their missions. All right. Weapon balance. Okay, this is literally massive. Okay, I suggest you read about it yourself because there's a lot here to go through. What I am going to go through though is just the core points here. Damage interactions for the game. Basically, they treat damage as the sum of individual buckets. Why am I focusing on this? Because there are some weapons with low base damage but high weak spot damage, such as the heavy last pistol, and they wanted to have a clear identity compared to high base damage and low weak spot damage weapons, such as the Magnacore, plasma gun, things like that. So basically, when they increase weak spot damage, they modify specifically the bucket of damage that deals with weak spot. You know, it only increases that bucket of damage, not the total sum of base damage plus weak spot damage. All right, so that's why certain buffs interact differently with certain weapons. How this will go, well, let's see. All right. They've also modified a lot of blessings, so there's a lot of stuff here. Please read through it because there's no way I can keep this video short and sweet enough while going through all of these, but really you should take a look because there's a huge amount of changes here. Some of them might be really beneficial for weapons that you may favor or maybe have not thought of trying before. For example, the Trauma and Force staff's Blazing Spirit has received an increase in the number of stacks applied per critical hit from 1 to 3. That's a massive power increase right there. The most important, however, which I am going to focus on tonight especially, is that the Lucius Hellbore lasguns all have increased cleave. They've effectively doubled the cleave and it should hit 2 targets on average. This is going to be tested straight up. All right. They've increased the magazine size, moving from 50 to 100 to 60 to 120, and they've scaled the reserves accordingly. So hell yeah. The Hellbores should receive an overall increase, which is really nice. They've improved the armor mod versus flak and carapace for the Mark IIs, and the Mark IIIs received a massive increase in flak as well. So that is going to be helpful. I'll definitely be testing a Mark III. All right. Lawbringer combat shotgun. Yeah, okay. The heavy last pistol has also received a lot of changes, so I'll be testing this as well. I think it might be quite interesting to try this out and see how that goes. It supposedly has high weak spot damage, so I want to see it in action and see how that feels. All right. Going through all of this. Power Sword received a massive cleave bonus for the Savage Sweep, so if you happen to have it, yeah, it's now 50% per stack, so max is 250% cleave. Pretty damn killer. All right, Ogren's received a buff as well, so just take a look at this patch. For all the Ogren players, this is going to be important, I guess. They've received a general boost by making them harder to stun and push back from taking hits. They know that they're slow, so they wanted to start with lifting up some of the punishment that they can receive in this patch. They've also switched out one of the Skullbreaker feats in an attempt to provide more interesting interactions within the combat loop. Basically, for Ogren's, all enemy shooter and stalker shots that hit will now have shorter stun times and less pushback. Having your toughness broken or getting hit in melee while sprinting will have a shorter stun time. They replaced the knife through butter feat with knock them down and beat them up. So staggering enemies adds a number of stacks relative to the size of the enemy, and it'll grant a 2% bonus to your next heavy attack. The max number of stacks is 25, so yeah, keep pushing for a 50% heavy damage bonus. They fixed the issue with the Bullgore feat, where not all enemies hit with Bull Rush would get the bleed stacks applied. They've increased the number of bleed stacks applied by Bullgore from 2 to 4. They fixed the issue with Blood and Thunder, where the bleed applied on non-damaging attacks. Where the bleed would be applied on non-damaging attacks, alright? And they've increased the range at which the Ogryn can pick up items, given how much further away from the ground they are. So picking up items should now be easier for the Ogryns. Psycho Perils Quelling, they normalized the passive vent times for non-warp weapons because they defaulted to the max speed previously. So enable passive quell time modifier as part of the quell speed bonus stat for force staffs. And they slightly buffed the passive quell times for staffs across the board, which would be interesting for the Psychers. I mean, we already received massive buffs last patch, so I'm pretty happy with this. Veteran Sharpshooter just got a minor bug fix. Poxburster. Okay, they've changed it so that the Poxburster explosions damage enemies at close range and stagger them at far range. I want to check this out because it's gonna be important to see how this works now, because I really hated those Poxbursters. This might make tougher difficulty missions easier to complete. The Rack and Ruin Psyker feat. All right. The rest of this is all blessing related, so you can read it if you're interested. The Rack and Ruin Psykinetic feat will get a UI update later on, but now it applies on hit instead of on kill. I will check this out probably tomorrow and probably just do some like TikToks or shorts on this because I think it'll be important. Okay. And yeah, the rest is all combat fixes, combat tweaks, non-combat fixes and tweaks are all here. All of this, I highly suggest you take a look at if you're interested. All right, managed to keep this at 16 minutes. Jesus, that was still long. Thank you guys so much for putting up with this. There's still so much to go through. It is a massive 10 gigabyte patch. So check it out if you're interested. Thank you so much for bearing with me with this. I hope that you guys find all this interesting. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And of course, comment to let me know your thoughts on any of this stuff here. And I'll happily discuss it with you. And we can see where to go from here as well. Provide more feedback because they are listening. All right, they are listening. Thank you very much. Like, share, subscribe. Don't forget to turn your notifications on. If you want to support me for free, one of the best ways you can do so, listen to my music on Spotify. Link in the description as well. Last but not least, get this video to 100 likes. All right, that'll really help out with the algorithm. And I'll see you on the Morning Star. Get you later.